We have Culipi, Cor pelican. He has, in greenhouses normally we use the ropes for hanging the plants on the ropes. Here we have a clipping system, so you don't need the rope, so you don't have the waste of the ropes. We see in a lot of countries that the waste of the plants is an issue, especially when there is rope involved, because the plants are biodegradable, but the ropes aren't. Now, how does this work, this system? This iron can of course be much longer, but it's a small clip. And basically what you do is, the clip is here, you take the clip off the iron bar, you lower your plant, and then you put back on the clip. Now, another benefit is it's more sustainable, but it's also easier to explain to employees. So that makes it sometimes more usable in greenhouses, because telling how, I get a lot of questions from people. They are always interested in climate, and that is very important in a greenhouse, climate. But for me, number one is labor, then irrigation, and then climate control. And the reason why, I can explain to you, is, for me, if you damage the plant with labor management, so you destroy the plant, it doesn't make any, the water and the climate are useless. So that needs to be optimal. Then water, because in our high-tech systems, or in most greenhouses, if the irrigation is not good, the EC, the pH, or a lack of water, that really damages the plant. And climate, now, simply said, you need to optimize the climate, but with a less optimal climate, there is a big bandwidth for the plant to survive, because plants are used to survive outside as well, so they can tolerate hot and cold temperatures much better, so there is a bigger range. We see here storage tanks for fertilizers, for mixing. Of course, these tanks are, you will see them also in our irrigation room, and we have big tanks outside for all type of water storage. This is the first of the 3 climate computer producers we have in the Netherlands. Basically all 3 are market leaders in the world. This is Ridder. They do a few things, so they also have their own screens, they have the drive systems, and they have their climate computer system, where they can regulate the whole greenhouse. So climate control, irrigation, everything basically in one computer. This is also nice to show. This is labor management. We want to know exactly what our labor is doing, but basically we also want to know not only how fast they were going, but we can also show our customers when was this tomato harvested. So we can basically track and trace our products back into the greenhouse. So if we have a box with tomatoes where something is wrong, then we can basically say, hey, which trolley was it? Where was this harvested at what time? So then we can basically track and trace that problem back into our greenhouse, making sure that it doesn't happen again. Irrigation, very important. Most used is of course the sand filters. Big filter filled with layers of sand. You flush the water through the sand, and when the sand gets cloth dirty, you need to flush it. It's the cheapest way of basically cleaning the water, but it's also wasting a lot of fresh, healthy water that you could have used for growing your products. This is an electric filter. When the filter basically detects that it's getting too dirty, there are nozzles on the inside of the tube. They basically suck out the dirt of the filter, cleaning the filter. And on that way, basically, you use much less water for cleaning your filters, and you have much more water for irrigation. In the Netherlands, we have plenty of water. We are very close to the sea. There is a lot of fresh water available. But as you have seen in the introduction, we are capable of using only 4 liters of water to produce 1 kilo of tomato, because it's more sustainable. The government is requesting it, and our consumers are also requesting it to be to basically save the world in the future and not waste water. The shuttle systems, so logistics in the greenhouse. This is, as you can see, in the greenhouse with big shuttles where we can put on flowers or potted plants, but it can also be for indoor farming. A lot of companies are also doing that, but this is, for example, a system for lettuce where you have sort of an indoor growing facility where these shuttles basically move automatically to the right position where they get water and light and then get out. So you could basically save transport, but this is something that you could, for example, do in big cities. We have Priva. That's 2 from the 3 climate producers. Here we can see sort of inside of the computer. So it's prints, and basically this is the control system, the heart of the greenhouse. So you have to basically do the settings in the computer. They are more and more working on more, not autonomous, but automated growing systems to make it easier to grow plants in those high-tech greenhouses. As you can see, they have dashboards where you can make all the settings. Irrigation, as you can see, measured weight, so precision irrigation, and also labor management. Now you can buy glass with a coating on it, but what you also can do is start with normal glass and apply a coating for a certain period of the year. And there are a lot of coatings available, like Radiflex, Anti-Reflect, Radifuse. That is more diffuse coating for diffusing the light. So what we just saw is spreading the light. Radisol, for example, blocking the light. There are all types of screen coating available for certain parts of the year where you need to protect your plants. Artificial light. I think since early 90s they already used it, but artificial light more and more. First sodium high pressure bulbs, yellow light. It's not the complete spectrum the plant likes, but it can basically extend your season or make it possible to grow year round. A lot of energy is used for producing heat, and just a small part is making the light. The LEDs, that will be the future. As you can see, they have a full spectrum, so the red and the blue light. That are basically the colors for photosynthesis. And they are basically or air or water cooled, but they can do the same thing as the HPS lights, only use, for example, half of the energy. On the other end, you also have to put in the energy when necessary. Now I think you will probably know, but the red and the blue light are the colors for growing, for par light. For example, the blue light, and that's why we will come to the, let's do the Mechatronics classroom. We will come to the insects. Insects react on blue light. So therefore, if you use, for example, bumblebees in your greenhouse, if it's allowed, you need to make sure that the bumblebees are in the hive before turning off the light, because if the light's on, the bumblebee thinks it's still daytime, and then when you turn off the light, they get lost and they don't get back to the hive. Here we see the Mechatronics classroom. So in our sector we see more and more automatization, so not automatic growing, autonomous growing, but also more and more techniques to improve our growing techniques. These students will not all be working in our business, but we hope that a few of them will work at the companies we have here, so they can help us improve the techniques by, for example, a robot that can sort out, for example, the weak plants and those kind of things. This is a substrate area. So we see companies here that provide different substrate mixes. Most potted plant growers have their own mix. Every type of substrate has its own capacity of holding water and air and other things. So it's really plant specific. As you can see here, this is Cocos in the Netherlands. And we will go to Grodan soon, but in the Netherlands, most growers still are growing on Rockwool. But Cocos is also very suitable for growing. As you can see, they have trays where you can do the young plant breeding also in Cocos with the plug, so it can be fully in Cocos. The benefit of Cocos, it's of course biodegradable, and for transport, you can see it's compressed. So if you put water on it, then it will extend. But for transport, it's easier. We have MJTF Fox systems. Very important that the water is very, very clean, because of course this is nozzles, and those nozzles, they are under high pressure, and then you can make small particles of moist in the air, so not drips, and that is basically absorbed by the air. The benefit of this kind of system, depending on what kind of plant, is if it's very dry in the greenhouse, the plant is basically not capable of keeping up transpiration. So if you then can add moist in the air, you can help the plant basically prevent water stress, and that's basically improving your production in the greenhouse. Koppert, hopefully familiar. From the bumblebees, we have here, that's maybe nice to show, a bumblebee on a tablet. Koppert is a provider of the bumblebees, but also of a lot of insects. I'm not aware if all the insects are allowed in your area, but as you can see here on the poster, this is, for example, the pest insects, and these are all the beneficials that can be used against those pest insects. In our greenhouses, what we do, for example, with tomatoes, start of the season, you get your young plants, small plants in the greenhouse, and the first thing in the first week what we do is we put, just get one, so don't blame if it's not the right one for tomatoes, but we get these insects. For example, here are 5,000 insects in this small pot, and we spread them basically over the whole greenhouse. So we build up a sort of army to protect our plants against the pest insects. So when the pest insects, they will come inside, then there is our insects that basically can create a biological balance. And by doing that, you need much less spraying and you get a much healthier product. You can always go on the Koppert website and you can find basically a lot of information about those insects. Grodan, it's a company that provides the Rockwool. It's a sort of basalt stone, volcanic stone. Of course, there are different types of Rockwool available on the market, depending on how long your crop cycle is and those kind of things. You can choose what type you need. So there is Grodan Master, Grodan Prestige, all types of substrate. Then you can ask yourself, yeah, but I see also substrates that are much cheaper. Now then you have to think, what is the difference? Now, for example, I think with the Grodan Master top, the spread of the water is more optimal because the water is basically all over the growing bag. So no basically dry spots. Also depending on your strategy of watering, because if you water too high, too big turns, then the water will basically just disappear out of the slab. But if you do it in the right order, then the water spreads all over the slab and you have enough growing material for your plants. But the cheaper, for example, Rockwool that is available on the market sometimes only has horizontal woven Rockwool. So start of the season it's comparable, but if your season is almost a whole year, halfway the season when it gets important, you see that the cheaper versions sometimes decline. So the air water content changes, and that's then not improving your root quality, and that's then influencing your productivity. So always think about investing in the right products, because sometimes saving €1 per square meter on Rockwool costs you €5 on production on the other side. This is letsgrow.com. It's data-driven growing. It's a platform where all, I think, over 2,000 growers are connected. They're uploading their data to the platform, but it's their data. So it's very important to understand that the data that you bring to the platform is your data, and the data is shared by you with your crop consultant, with your employees, with whoever you want to share it with, but the important thing is it's your data. By using the data and be able to share it real time with other growers, we can learn together. Another aspect what Let's Grow is doing, they have data-driven growing training. So they are training people basically how to use the high-tech greenhouses and how to improve their production. And then we are not talking about starters, because we can train starters, but they are training the best growers in the world to even improve their quality. One of the things they use is this book. It's Plant Empowerment, the Basic Principles. So in this book you can read all about how you should be growing. But from this book, implementing it in the greenhouse, that's something Let's Grow can support you with. Yeah? They are very well connected with the Hogendoorn climate computer.